Alright, so boom, I'm gonna be honest. One thing I know and two things for sure, I'm not gonna be before you long. I was tasked with the opportunity for you to get to know me a little bit better, as well as share with you why I created One Way Ticket. My name is Tephillah Amunah SabaYahu. The only reasonable way I knew how was to immerse you in this journey. I view life cinematically. I see from the point of view of a camera lens. I see angles and colors, distortions and saturations, stories and the complexities of characters. I thought getting behind the physical camera would help me to share in what I see, but sometimes the raw footage I capture with my naked eye is so pure and genuine I forget to pick up an actual camera, and instead I just enjoy what Yahuah is allowing me to see with my own eyes. Praying I can replay the lasting moments one day in my memory bank when I seem to forget how through life truly is now. At one point, I thought I had it all figured out. I lived a life I thought I was seemingly healthy and morally right. As I continued to grow as an artist and adult spiritually, I realized that I was struggling. I was in trouble. I was searching and seeking stability in all the wrong places. I also knew some of the choices I was making in life was due to how others perceived I should live and not how Yahuah wanted me to. I left anything that allowed me to be creative and have some form of creative expression. At the time, I didn't know his name. I just called him God and JC. So when I came into the knowledge of Yahuah and Yahusha, who I was, who my ancestors were, and how the Bible is my history book, I was ready to drop everything and go. So in faith, I did. Now I'm here, presenting you One Way Ticket. This is Sarah. She's pretty cool. She's a woman of many hats, and she'll be your host for the day, asking all the questions for you to get an idea of what to expect when you read One Way Ticket. Like I said, I ain't finna hold you. Tune in, get a glimpse. Much Ahava, Shalom, Fee.
All right, so I get to be here with my sister Tephillah SabaYahu. I'm Sarah Zion Paris SabaYahu. And so I'm just super excited to sit here and talk to her under these wonderful trees and this bright sunlight about your book that's coming out. So we know that you have your podcast, that's Yom Talk, and it's streaming on Apple and Google, and where else can your listeners find it?
It's on Spotify. I think that's it right now. Oh, Amazon. I think I have it on Amazon. It's on a few places.
Hallelujah. So be sure to check that out. Really be listening to that, because I know it's been really inspirational for me, hearing about the dismantling your bad thoughts and different things like that to really engage us and really strengthen us on a regular basis. So now you're coming out with your book. Yes. Right? A creative's guide to, let me make sure I have it correct. A creative's guide to surrender, One Way Ticket, Psalms, a journey to submission. So right from the beginning, you really draw us in with the title of the book. What does it mean, and why did you choose it?
So it's funny because it happened, I was having to sit down with Malkah and Isha, and for some reason, I just really wanted to, Yahu, I really wanted to just share one of the excerpt poems, and because we were talking about being creative, and this happened in 2021 or the end of 2020, and Malakah looked at me and she said, "Oh, this is a book," and I was like, I immediately like turned up my face like, no, I don't think so, like, because I was like, oh, that means work, like, right, in my head. And then as I was like reading the different poems to her, I think I read her Muse. I think I read the Muse and another poem from it, and they were just like, no, like, this is something. And then Ma actually came up, not with the One Way Ticket, but with the Psalms Guide to Surrender and the Journey of Submission, like that portion. And One Way Ticket actually came about because when I finally moved, I took one plane ticket, one-way ticket to get here, and basically kind of like never looked back. So that's where the One Way Ticket came from.
Hallelujah. So Muse, that really was my favorite one. It really had me crying. It was inspirational. I even tried to write my own version because I was so just impacted from your words. So at that time, what was your muse? What was your inspiration for writing that particular piece?
Well, muse to me is an unrequited love story. And so I was when I was writing it, I was thinking about my past relationships and past people that I was like, I thought I knew what love was, or figuring out what love was, but I was like, why does this person have me feeling this way? Not even this person, but these people, the different relationships that I was like encountering, whether it be an actual solid like relationship or like a situationship or like just a getting to know someone. And I was just like, something's always missing. But then at the same time, I was trying to find love in those places that it wasn't meant to be. And so that's where muse came about. So it's like it's a story or an ode to what I thought would be my muse, but what's actually not my muse. Like Yahusha became my muse, but like I was finding love in all the wrong places. And you can see that in certain things, because I talk about like now I'm left with like this gaping hole because I don't know what I'm searching for these things in people that they don't have that to give to me. And so muse is really about unrequited love and using those people that created that hole as a muse of some sort.
I know you personally. You're my sister. I love you. Like I said, you're such an inspiration. The way that you dress, the way that you move, just everything about you. And so with being one of your beta readers, I really noticed that you created a whole new genre of literature. Like you bring in so many different styles. You bring in really your personal journey. So what does it feel like to be a trailblazer and an innovator as an author?
It's different because I can't explain what it is. So it was a couple of times that everybody kept asking me about the book, and I was just like, I don't know. I was like, it's like literature, but it's like a book of poetry, but it's also like a film, then it's also like a play, then it's also like it can be whatever you want it to be. Like, and then it also gives you like a perspective in the mind of a creator, and then it also gives you the opportunity to reflect. So it's just like a culmination of all these things that really can't be described. And Yahuah allowed me to remember how I used to be not talked about, but how I used to be labeled in the world when I would go out for auditions or I would do certain things within my academic career about like, oh, we kind of don't know what to do with you. So we're going to have you do all types of things. So I'll sing this style of music and also this style of music. I'll learn this style of dance, also this style of dance. I'll play this type of role, but I'll also play this role. Like, it's just like, it was like I was never typed. You know, a lot of typecast. Yeah, like a lot of people are normally, when they go into the realm of like entertainment, they're typed to a certain degree. Like, oh, you're always going to be like somewhat type of that ingenue, pretty girl next door situation, or you're always going to be that mom, that authoritative figure. But I guess for me, it was like always like, oh, you could do this and you could do this, you could do this and you could do this. So when it came to the book, I realized like it was certain things. I was writing poetry, but then if you notice, Vice, the poem Vice is in there, and in 2020 I released an album called Vice, and it's the poem Vice that I turned into a musical album and just added songs to. So it was just like, it was basically open. So I didn't want to like take away from it. I was just kind of allowing Yahuah to move according to how he wanted it in his vision, because I didn't want to put it in like a certain category when he had me to create other things additional to go with it. So I just kind of like left it where it was and just kind of kept going with the ebb and flow he was producing within me.
I think that's so powerful to just really allow Yahuah to use you in all these different creative ways. So you spoke about how you dance, how you sing, how you act, you produce, you rap. You're one of my favorite female rappers. You know, I absolutely love your lyrics and being able to try to rap along to your cadences. So even getting to the flow of this book of One Way Ticket, What is your favorite way to be creative? Is it writing or is it something else?
I think it's writing, but I think it can switch between writing music and then actual like writing like a script or something like that. It just depends, but definitely writing, because I realize like I'll write one way, but like sometimes I'll write poetry thinking that it's just poetry, but then I realize, oh, that's a song. Or I realize, oh no, that's a rap. So it's just like I like writing because it's, I don't want to say manipulate, but I'm able to mold it whichever form of artistic medium or artistic expression I can. So if I do write something in short that's like a prose poem, but I'm realizing after I hear music that one of the Akeem produced, and I'm just like, man, I think I got something for that. I'm gonna go back to that poem or that prayer and turn it into a song. So I kind of not put a limitation on the writing, but I just kind of like let Yahusha flow in the writing and know that I can mold it into whatever he wants it to be at any given time.
So I love how you speak about molding it. So I may be a little have a preference, but your husband Malak Abiyah is one of the greatest, if not the greatest artist in all Hebrew time. And so I love how y'all really complement each other with that. So now in this new season of life, so you moved from the Big Apple with how busy it is to now quiet Anderson, South Carolina. In this new season, what brings you inspiration currently?
Being outside.
Hallelujah. Outside.
Being outside, like being able to hear, because I did get into a habit of hearing the rustle and the hustle and the bustle of like New York or New Jersey, and just like trains and buses and people screaming, crying babies into the wee hours of the night, partying, all that stuff, and to actually come to a place where I can hear the wind, like actually hear the wind without like a taxi honking, or just sit and really enjoy landscape or enjoy the water rippling and things like that. That has brought even more inspiration and less anxiety as well, because being in a big city life, like sometimes it can be very chaotic and stifle creativity because there's so much going on at times. But because I've been able to almost like decompress and relax a little bit more and find more stability and grounding, it's been able to allow me to be more versatile and focus on those things, those different creative aspects that I can like continue to hone and flourish in.
So when you're outside or you're at home, and that creative energy that can be between you and your husband with the way that he does art and the way that you do music, that space that you find yourself in, would you say that it's now as an adult, as a married woman, or as a young adult, as a child, as a teenager? What period in your life do you most enjoy writing about?
Man, I don't know. It's a series of things. I like writing about like the childhood and childhood perspectives, because I tend to go back there a lot. But then when you find peace and you fight for that thing, it's also something beautiful to write about, because Abiyah is one of my biggest inspirations. Just watching his walk and seeing how much he's matured, and then also like his artistic style. So and even with his artistic style, how he really encourages me to do more visual artwork and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of, it's a mixture, because I know like I used to draw and stuff like that at a young age, but at a certain period in time I just stopped. So now as an adult and being married to a visual artist, a visual scribe, it's like, oh man. And some of the things that he makes, it creates songs or it creates stories that for me that I'll write or I'll sing about because of what he's visually created. So that's another way in which we kind of like work together in a sense, because even in our office we look across from one another, so I can see what he's doing and he can see what I'm doing. But he's never looking at my side because he already know what he's drawing out. It's already in his mind. Yeah. I'm over there like, what he got going on? So it's just like, okay, more inspiration to help fuel what I got going on in my brain.
And I think the collaboration between husband and wife, what Yahuah uses with that is amazing. Mm-hmm. So you talked about mixture. In your book, you not only mix different styles of writing, but you also bring in the visual element from all the mementos that you've gathered throughout your life. And so you really bring the reader into the story, into what's going on in that moment. I think about showtime, you know, people gotta get the book. You gotta get the book in order to know what I'm talking about. So I love that where you're talking about how you're praying and meditating in your tiny apartment, or you're talking about preparing and singing on stage. Like, you really bring us in. What is one of your most significant times that you speak of in the book that you feel like is that exact experience that you want to bring the readers into?
Ooh, I think, man, it's a few of them actually, but the one I feel that hits the most is the portion of Showtime. And if you don't know, get the book though, for real.
I get it.
But so I'm talking about leading up to actual performance day. And it's crazy because, like you said, I have all these mementos, but like it was something always in me to like keep certain things, like keep little keepsakes. So like a lot of the stuff in the book are actual dates that certain things were written, actual dates and times of performances, actual people, like all of that stuff, and actual real encounters. So that specific moment was something real because I actually had to go babysit that day. I had to go pick the child up, make sure he was fed, make sure the dog was cool. I had rehearsal that day. I still got the ticket when I paid for that rehearsal, still had a show that very same evening, got pictures from that very same evening. So I wanted to, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is, like, especially if I'm doing something in the space of where it's specifically about me or someone that I know, I want to be as authentic as possible with the time frame or whatever I can. And Yahuah allowed that with this book because almost everything was time-stamped to where I have exact text messages, emails, tickets of the plane tickets, the trips, going to and from certain places. So that particular portion of the book, like, I was getting off a bus, my second bus from Jersey into New York, running to the train, getting downtown, going to pick the kid up, walking to his house. Then his house is close to the rehearsal studio. Then running to the rehearsal studio, meeting with the team, the band. Then getting dressed at the rehearsal studio, trying to put my makeup on at the rehearsal studio so I can get to sound check, and then preparing to actually, like, go on stage. Like that was like the actual day. So I really just enjoyed the authenticity about it. So it's just like, oh, I'm not just making up something a day for people to randomly, like, imagine. No, you'll see ticket stubs. You'll see the time in the hour in which I wrote something, or Yahusha downloaded something in me to actually write according to a revelation or according to something traumatic that I just experienced, or just a reflection. Like, and I'm grateful for that. So just to keep that genuine quality within the body of work, especially because you got people writing things every day, but sometimes they don't actually walk it, or they've never walked it. And I guess for me, it's just like, I did it. So I want to just make sure that, you know, like, I spoke to that person. This happened. Like, and it might be like, okay, you spoke to somebody on the train, but I know it happened because I wrote this and then that, you know. So it's just like small little things, even pictures, down to pictures. Like, I just have so many just random things that's mentioned in the book, but I actually have the pictures on those specific days. So I praise Yahusha for just allowing me to keep those things, not knowing that I was keeping them for this appointed time.
Hallelujah. So you spoke on authenticity. Your authenticity, like you said, in this time, it's a breath of fresh air. Like you said, so many people with social media are perpetrating that there's something different, but you bring such an exuberance, such a refreshing atmosphere to the literary world, to podcasting, to your music, even on Mishpaka. Like I said, you're one of my favorite rappers, so I love the second album of Mishpaka. Go out and get that too if you haven't got it.
Hallelujah. Yahusha code.
So just being able to hear you, to read your writing, to hear you rapping, to hear you singing, all that authenticity, it's your testimony. Mm-hmm. Is there a particular part from your testimony or what you've been able to do in your writing that makes the writing so therapeutic?
The vulnerability aspect of it and not being afraid of it, because really the vulnerability is what allowed me to gain the healing that I have obtained thus far. And I know Yahusha's still working on me, and I know it's some things that are still yet to be revealed, like deep things that I'm still working through. But I know that's how the book started. I started writing certain poems or writing certain letters because I may have not been able to articulate how I was feeling at a moment, or be able to have a conversation with a person that I knew I was having I had a quarrelsome relationship with, or not being able to have a conversation at all with someone because they're no longer present in this realm that we're in. So just finding healing and being able to write it out, and I was doing that, and then when it was spoken to actually like think about it in being a book and really like writing it, then it took even more healing to do that, because I was also then running away from it. But when I became more vulnerable to it, and it's just like, no, you have to write about this, or no, you have to say this, or no, you can't shy away from this. It opened me up to being more vulnerable, being more genuine, but then also receiving aruka or healing during those times, to where it's just like, now I feel comfortable about putting this book out, because I don't feel like it's going to open something that's going to tear me down, because Yahuah allowed me to reveal it to him, allowed me to get the therapy I needed from writing it out, and really giving it back to him, because he allowed me to speak it, but I'm in turn writing it out and giving it back to him and offering it up to him. And because I know I'm doing that, he's restoring and healing those wounds that I did open up purposefully, so I won't have to walk around in that shame and guilt and condemnation anymore for things that I may have done, things that I didn't do, things that I wasn't aware of, things that I just like happened to stumble in. So I praise Yahusha for the opportunity to do it, and the opportunity to be vulnerable in this manner.
Well, praise Yahusha. I just want to say Tudah Rabbah for your vulnerability, because One-Way Ticket really is a powerful book. We all need to have a one-way ticket in our relationship with Yahusha, that we're ascending forward and not going backwards, right? Not going back into trauma and different things like that. So besides vulnerability, what is some more wisdom that you would give your readers from your own personal journey?
Take a moment to reflect. And instead of, and it goes back to that episode of Yom Talk, and it's funny because I was just listening to it a couple days ago, but reaction versus response. When you're dealing with certain things, or you feel like you're in the midst of a trial, to not react based off of your just impulsive emotions in the way that you're feeling and thinking in a time, but really taking a step back to reflect on not only the actions that were pressed upon you, like the situation, because it's always different sides, but say you were put in a situation and you feel like you're being attacked, but also look at yourself and how can you take ownership for your actions in that moment, because that's how you're going to grow, that's how you're going to mature. Always pointing the finger is not going to get you anywhere, you know? So it's just like making sure you're slow to speak, and that's in the script, but really being slow to speak and just reflecting on what Yahusha is showing you, not only about that situation, but about you in that moment, so you can really grow from it and ascend, so you can have that one-way ticket, so you won't continue to regress or cycle back to the same trauma or the same situation because you want to continue to avoid actual ascension. But instead, think about it, receive, reflect, repent, and continue to walk and move forward in your maturity.
Hallelujah. You make it sound so effortless.
It's not. That ain't be hard.
Sister, I know the hard work you put into this, and I hope that your readers really see that in this book. So when you're in these spaces, whether you're on stage singing or you're at home with your husband writing, do you find yourself getting engulfed in these memories, in these times in your writing, or do you find yourself just really being focused on, okay, I'm gonna write creatively, or I'm gonna write for the audience that I'm speaking to?
I would say, it's like rapid fire. So sometimes before I start writing, I'll go into prayer and I'll ask you, like, I don't want to just write to write. I don't want to just sing to sing. I want it to be a purpose behind it. So I'm like, Yahuah, if I'm meant to write today, I ask that you give me the things that you want to be said in this moment, according to your will, not according to what's just going on in my brain, because I just want to write something regular. Like, what is it that you want me to say in this time? And I know for One Way Ticket, one thing that was happening was it was like rapid fire. He was just telling me, reminding me of things that I had in old phones, and it was like I was like going back. I was literally going down a whirlpool of memories, and it wasn't like scary. It was just like he was just having me to remember. So it was like really exciting because I was like, yes, I can add this. Yes, I can add this. And so it sometimes just depends. But I really like moments like that because it's just like, oh man, I don't know why I decided to keep this. But praise Yahushua, I did, because now I can use it for something, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it kind of depends on the situation.
Hallelujah. So praise Yahushua.
I hope I answered the question.
No, I think you answered the question perfectly.
Hallelujah.
So you really are in this time a modern day psalmist. Shout out to our mama, Hagabir Malakah SabaYahu, for that title, A Creative's Guide to Surrender, One Way Ticket,
Hallelujah.
A Psalms for Submission. Like, that submission is really important.
Yes, ma'am.
It's our whole life, right? That goes back to our obedience. So what is it like being a psalmist in this modern time, in the lineage of Dawood?
It's different because people think that, like I said earlier, just, I'm just gonna sing just to sing. I want to sound through, and it took me learning this when coming into the awakening. But then I realized I was just like, no, like what I say is not about me. What I say is ministering to those who are listening. So I want to be very mindful, and I want to make sure my intentions are pure doing that. And I'll be honest, when I first started, I was very like, I was still in the headspace of performance and perfectionism and stuff like that. So I had to deal with a lot of things to break down that idol of perfectionism, break down that idol of performance, and like, okay, I'm in front of a camera type of situation, and really humble myself before Yahusha and offer it to him. And that goes into that submission. So I wouldn't be a psalmist if I didn't actually surrender everything. I didn't know I was going to pick any of this back up, but I surrendered it all, saying, I won't. Unless you tell me to, I won't pick it back up. And I'll be okay with it because I know I just want to serve you and I just want to please you with my life. That's solely it. So everything that Yahusha is putting back into my hands, I'm grateful for. And I didn't realize, like, it was me. It was a part of me, but I also knew that I was willing to give up everything to just be under his wing, be under his covering, and be his daughter, and prove that him plucking me out of the fire is not going to be for naught or in vain. So the idea of being a creative in this walk you have to be humble enough to surrender everything that you have to him, because without him, you are nothing. So that song that you just created, yeah, it sounds great, but if you just creating it just to create it, just to get some plays, that ain't gonna mean nothing if it's not exalting him. You know what I'm saying?
I understand. So praise Yahusha, I've enjoyed being in your space, relating with my sister in the outdoors. I'm not really an outdoors person, but praise Yahusha.
Hallelujah.
So we just, man, you're so amazing. And I hope that your listeners from Yom Talk will become readers of your book, A Creative's Guide to Surrender, One-Way Ticket, a Psalms of Submission, because it's a perfect way to just encompass all of who you are and what Yahusha has done for you. So thank you for bringing me into your space today.
Tudah Rabbah for having me, and I appreciate you, Tudah Rabbah. Honestly, sister.